All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Iron Purpose Podcast. Today, I have a special treat. Dude, I haven't seen you, I don't think, in like 8 or 9 years. But Nathan Ivy, how you doing, buddy?
Doing pretty good. Today
Good.
has been a little wild.
Yeah?
Yeah, so today we had I go to like contractor events with a
Uh-huh.
specific supplier that I buy a lot of material from. And it was a new product that they have coming out for outdoor kitchens. So how you put it together is going to was why I was there. So we had pizza. It turns out if you have a Jet's Pizza near you, I would recommend trying it. It's really good
Jets
because they had
Pizza.
that for lunch. But yeah,
Okay. Never heard of
yep,
it. It was good, though?
it was very good. The course. So the reason why it went so long was because the individual who was actually going to be demonstrating it didn't show up for like an additional 30 to 45 minutes after the class had already started.
Oh, nice. So you're
Yeah,
just kind
so
of
I
sitting
was just
there
wandering around the building.
eating your Jets Pizza.
Yeah, and then they started putting the hardware together. They're like, "Oh, apparently we need some ratchets and a drill." So it was funny. So
Hey, you kind of need that
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, you do. I mean, but
Put
we
it
made
together by
fun of them.
hand.
We had a great time. It was literally like a bunch of college dudes hanging around. It was hilarious. I had such a great time.
That's amazing.
Mhm.
Good stuff. Well, we met, man, literally. So I went to Pensacola right after
13?
I graduated. That would have been, I think, the fall of 14 for
Okay.
me. Did I meet you freshman year? I don't remember exactly when. And then I think,
Yes, it was fall, I believe. I believe it was fall.
and I can't remember if I met you through at work
Grounds.
or if I met you before that. It was, yeah, it must have been at work,
First
working
day it was at
grounds.
grounds. Yeah, and you showed up and I was like, "Who is this guy?"
What a
Because
nerd.
it was always yeah, because I was sitting there thinking, because anytime you see somebody new, especially on grounds, you're like, does this guy know what he's doing? Yeah. But then I remember you and we started talking. We hit it off really fast.
Uh-huh. Really quick. I think it was movie quotes and whatever we could come up with, and football and
We started out. It was the sports center bed right there by the sidewalk is where you and I
oh,
worked
you're
together for
right.
first, and then we went up to the berms.
You're right.
Yeah. Yeah, and remember Steingas, he would take those big old trash bins and who can throw it the farthest up the berm? Yeah. Who can
And then
hold
you'd
the
be
most
up there.
mulch? Yeah.
Which
Yeah,
was
didn't he
you.
put 11 on both shoulders?
That's crazy.
I think he put 11 on one side and 11 on the other.
You're
He was
probably
a big
right.
dude. He was a big dude. I could be lying, but he had a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure you could have carried just as much.
No.
You weren't as tall as him, but you're pretty ripped, dude. Are you still ripped?
I have not been I've had a lot of sickness issues as of late. So
Oh,
I've not
I'm
been
sorry
able
to
to
hear
get in the
that.
gym. I spent a few weeks ago, I spent 3 days in the ER because so I have ulcerative colitis and it flares
Okay.
up. Um, Stress. I picked the wrong business to do that, but
Yeah.
so a lot of times it flares up with stress. But another reason why it was explained to me is also your body is kind of attacking your colon at the same time. So
Mm-hmm.
but when the ulcerative colitis flares up, you kind of have a lot of difficulty in the gut, so you don't want to put a lot of pressure on it. And usually, I
Mm,
don't go to the gym, so
fair. Okay.
so it's difficult, but we're trying to get it figured out. We're trying a lot of different things,
Hmm.
so
Sure. Yeah. I'm sure a mixture of that and like the dad bod situation. That's probably got something to do with it too, huh?
yeah. Well, I'll tell you right now. I told my wife I was like, if I ever don't have a six pack, I want you to make fun of me. Don't let me get there, I don't want a dad bod.
Well, who
So,
needs my buddy Matt? You know Matt Waddell. He always said, "Who needs a
oh
six
yeah.
pack when you have a keg?" So I was like,
Yeah,
"Yeah, all
that's
right,
right.
valid."
That's right. I miss
Yeah, but
Matt and his blue Camaro.
yeah. I wish I got to see him more. He's finally done with optometry school, and so he's
Cool.
back. He's like 20 minutes from us. Well, he actually lives kind of probably like 10 minutes from us, and he just started up at a business in town as an eye doctor. So I just got
Nice.
my appointment in. Going to be seeing him at the end of the month, which will be kind of neat. But yeah, we'll have to get you up here one of these days. So you can come
Oh.
see Matt and Caleb, and bring the wife, bring the kiddo up.
Hmm.
Be a good time.
Yeah, then you decided to leave college, and so then I had no friend left, so I had to be friends with Caleb.
He's a
Caleb
good
and his
second.
wife, they were great
Yeah,
friends. Yeah,
yeah.
they didn't go and just leave me.
Just leave you hanging.
Yeah, you were in junior year too. Was it? It was first semester junior or second semester junior?
I think it was in March, so that would have been
That's second
yeah,
semester.
towards the end. Sheesh.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was like towards my birthday. I remember like cuz yeah, I was
I
going to
was bitter,
classes and
but I
stuff.
understood.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was bitter too. I was bitter, sour, sad, depressed. For those who don't know what we're talking about, so I went down to Pensacola Christian College. That's where I met Nathan, and about 3 years in, 3.5 years in, I was talking to another senior there who's in the criminal justice program who was from Minnesota. He was looking to apply to some skills training. So after you get your academic degree, you have to go through like a skills portion for police officer or peace officer standard and training in Minnesota. And Pensacola didn't have the accreditation that was required in order to get into those like academies. And so we found out the hard way. I don't know what Nathan, the other guy, Nathan fenced Daniel or Nathan. They're brothers, but Fensky. I'm not sure what he ended up doing, but I was met with the decision of do I go back home now because I'm gonna have to start over, or work down here somewhere until I can get reciprocity and move back. But I ended up moving back and starting all over. So I went through 2 years more of college that none of my stuff transferred either. So I had to come start all over again. And then yeah, so that was kind of a bummer. But in coming back, I ended up starting at a job that I had formerly worked at previous years ago, and there was a girl that was working there at the time, and we got hanging out. And then 8 years later, we are married and have a kid. So it all worked out. It all worked out all right. So
Yep.
a little bummer, that I had to leave you guys down at school. Like that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed my time in Pensacola, but in the long run, I think I'm doing all right as a result of that adversity in my life at that time.
Yeah. No, everything turned out well.
Yeah,
So
because I haven't seen you since. I haven't seen Jonathan Kemp since. Yeah, he was a good
yeah,
buddy of
he
mine
was
down
fun
there.
too.
Yeah, good
Yeah.
times.
Yeah, I still remember. So you call it a weed whipper, and I call it a weed eater. I still remember whenever I'd get you a few times, and I remember that one time I got you on the thigh, and you went, "Stop it!" And I was like, "Yeah, I probably went a little too far with that one."
Freaking hurt, man. Got like lines in my thighs. You okay?
Yeah, sorry,
No.
sorry about that.
I still have a scar. I got it tattooed. Put your name on it.
Nathan
Just
was
kidding.
here.
And this weed eater trying to eat my leg.
Yeah.
Oh
Uh,
man, yeah, good times. I'm trying to think. So what did and we'll get into your story a little bit, but did you end up? What was the story after for you? What was, because I know how things ended up with me at Pensacola. Did you end up sticking it out and graduating, or what are you working on right now? What are you using? Are you using your degree or?
so yes, I finished out. Took me more years than most. I started working a lot, and I
Mm-hmm.
took fewer credits. Um, I would try, so I failed classes because I would try to force as many in as possible because I was like, I still want to try to graduate on time, and so I would try to
Mm-hmm.
force as many classes as I could and work the amount of hours that I did, and it wasn't panning out. So I would fail classes, and specifically Greek. I took it the first time. They were like, "You didn't pass it." Took it the second time. You didn't pass it. Took it the third time. You didn't pass it. And then they were like, "Hey, you're gonna have to take it again, but if you don't pass it this time, you need to take another major." And then I went and applied for it, and spring semester comes in. I go, deans are like, you need to meet with us. I'm like, here we go. What's going on? They said, well, you actually passed it the first time, so you're not going to need to take it. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought. So we ended up writing a letter and everything that didn't get resolved nor responded to, if I remember correctly. But I didn't go back through and look for the emails, so disregard it if they have replied to it. But whatever. So it took me a little bit longer. Like I took as many hours on as I possibly could at PCC, and I would still try to take 16 to 17 credits. And then like on Saturday, had an individual that owned a piece of property, and he would have me go over and do the landscaping and land clearing over his property from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So I would do that all day, and then I had the usher job, and then I had grounds, and then that job. So it was basically, because you're usher, you're working on Sundays, and then
Right.
Sundays and Wednesdays all through chapels, and then I worked that all day Saturday, and then through the week on grounds. So
Jeez.
tried to work as much as possible because I didn't want towards the end I was like, I don't want my parents paying for any of my any of my college. I want to be on my
Right.
own.
Yeah, exactly. Did
But
you so then, what was your major? You were in music, weren't you? It was a music major?
music ministries with a vocal emphasis.
That's right.
Yeah. Because I thought for sure I was going to end up being a music pastor one day.
Mm-hmm.
And oh yeah, you said how do you use it? How I use my degree now. I used to teach some of the kids for a while, quite a few years, and then my wife, she kind of was the lead role there because she when I married her, she was over the kids department,
Mm-hmm.
and then I came in whenever we met, and then she started having me to do the teaching, so we like co-taught that class. And then we stepped away from that so that way we could be able to sit down and be able to focus more on getting stuff out of Sunday school and getting stuff out of the messages and stuff like
Mm.
that. Um, how I use the music side of things, I play cello for the church, and I sing specials, and I
Mm-hmm.
sing in the choir at times. So that's how I
Okay.
use it now. Because music ministries is a music pastor kind of focus, I do use the pastoral side of things whenever I'll do devotionals and stuff sometimes. Like just today's Friday. Yeah, Friday.
Friday. Yeah. I had to think for a second.
Wednesday, I preached a message, or whatever you want to call it, a devotional for the Wednesday night service on Psalm 142.
Okay.
So that's how I use my degree. Outside of that, I am in landscape, what I'll refer to as like landscape construction field.
Interesting. So what does that entail?
Yeah. So the reason why I call it that is when people go, so what do you do? I say, think of me as a general contractor in the landscape field. So I subcontract all of the work. So do you want me to start in on the story, or?
Um, well, we'd have to start from the very beginning then.
Yeah, so I'll just explain how that all works. So
Okay, okay.
basically, to start from the beginning, I wanted to be able to start a business that could fully operate at the highest capacity from $0.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you do that? How do you get equipment? How do you get crews? How do you get people who are professional in their field? Subcontracting them. So I subcontract all the work. So that means I have the ability to do pergolas, outdoor kitchens, driveways, sidewalks, sod, irrigation, anything. I can do anything. I know how to do a lot of that stuff, but I'm not a professional, like a high-end professional at every single
Mm-hmm.
scope of work,
Right.
or what they call they don't call it crafts. They call it
Fields?
trades at
Trades.
each trade. So
There you
so if
go.
you ever look at it like GC, whenever the GCs are sending out blueprints and stuff, or I say blueprints for plans, for site plans and all that, they'll refer to it as trades. And so whether you're irrigation, landscape, concrete, interiors, exterior, whatever you are, it's a trade. So I'm not a professional at every single different kind of trade, bricklayer, all that. So I have the ability to have professionals. So, for instance, I'll go to a client. My goal is to do as much design and install as possible, trying to be able to set the precedence for the project. So I go to the client and I say, what would you like to have done? They'll go, I want irrigation. Like we had, I'll just call it the Benici project. We had the Benici project here. He wanted sod, irrigation, concrete driveway and sidewalks. He wanted pavers, fence, and I don't know if I said irrigation, but he also wanted irrigation and plants and beds done. So we went and basically redid all of that. So I obviously subcontracted out each and every one of those trades, but we do a design for the project so that they can see what everything looks like, and then I'll have each individual who, like for instance, say the if we're in the city, if we have to do what's called a curb cut, that requires a permit. Well, I require all the subcontractors, because they'll have the licensing for their business to pour. I'll have them pull the permits. So that way I don't have to have the licenses in irrigation. They can pull their permits. I don't have to have the licenses in at least to my knowledge, from what I know, as long as you have a licensed individual on your project, that person can pull the permits and I'm not responsible for them.
That makes sense.
So
Interesting.
So it allows me to be able to function at 100% without having to have had like a vast amount of capital to start the business.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So you run your own business then.
Yep.
So then say you subcontract this guy, does he then have to give you a bid on what he'll charge for that?
Yes.
Okay.
As much as
Individually?
possible, I try to get what they call their standard pricing, and I have them send me price lists. So for instance, common going rate for what you call coping. I don't know if you know what coping is, but like pool decks. So if you think of the interior wall of your pool, here's the water, here's the interior wall. What you have right here at the top of your pool, whether it's concrete or coping or paver, I'll call it paver. It's hard to, anyways.
I'm following. You've got a good visual
Whatever this
going. I'm
is right
following.
here is usually referred to as coping, whether it's bullnose, straight, Seville, fountainhead, whatever type of coping it is, it's just referred to as coping.
Sure.
That's at the edge of the pool. So wait, where's it go? Okay, so standard rate in this area is going to be about $12 a linear foot for installing coping. So like if somebody goes, oh, I install it for 12, I install it for 13, well then I'll go, okay, well, you also have to realize that I have to charge this and you have to be able to make a dollar as well, because I want you to be able to grow your business, pay your guys, but also I have to be able to charge stuff at a reasonable rate as well. Well, then they'll be like, okay, well, I can do 10. So then I charge 12 or I charge 13. So that way I can make something off of the work that they do. Because I have to meet with the clients. I have to do all of the face-to-face interactions. I have to do the contracts. I have to do the quality control. So I do have a lot of work to do, but I don't have to do all the manual labor.
Right. You're just facilitating. A professional facilitator sounds like. Sweet,
Like
dude.
a
That's
project
awesome.
manager.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
So I really enjoy it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've never really heard of that. What a awesome idea to grow a business without having to first get a bunch of money. My brother's been trying to do something similar. He's been trying to start up his own lawn care stuff and working in landscaping, and he has all these ideas of get rich quick schemes and stuff, but it's like sometimes you just got to put the pedal to the metal and grow. But it sounds like you kind of
Yes.
yeah.
So if should we ever come to that discussion, I'll have a few things to say. But yes, a lot of it is just going, all right, not that you don't plan, because you definitely have to have a plan. But I would say a lot of times you just kind of have to get started with a goal in mind and at least somewhat of a rough plan. And the reason why I say that is because if you've never been in business before, you don't know what to plan for.
Right.
So you can go, oh, I got to do this, or if I don't do this, then this will happen. Well, if you've never been in business before, you don't know if that's going to happen. You don't even know if
Right.
that's even in the consideration. So it could be so much
It's even
worse
an
than you
option.
actually think it is.
Right.
So,
Right.
but yeah, definitely during the slow months, it's a little scary. So
Yeah,
But
I suppose.
at least in the first year, somebody told me, he was like, "I'm getting ready to start up my own business. This is what I'm gonna do." And I said, "Make sure you have a little something set aside for your first year of slow months."
Mm-hmm.
So
Smart.
that's probably the biggest thing I'd recommend. Have a
Sure.
plan, have a rough plan. Get in there and just get started. Figure it out as you go, because that's the best way to learn something.
Mm-hmm.
And then make sure you have a little money set aside for the winter months.
Good advice. Well, cool. That was yeah. I learned a lot there. That was a cool little spiel. But now we're gonna rewind, and we're gonna start from wherever you want to start. And like I like to give my guests the opportunity to share their story and tell a little bit about themselves, which you have. We're kind of caught up to where you are now, but bring us back to young Nathan and
Okay.
the stuff that happened in between to kind of get you to where you are and the man you are today. And then at the end, I'll probably ask a couple questions, and I want to talk about a little bit of your music background, your practicing of the Second Amendment, and what you're doing there with your channel too, and the content that you put out, and then maybe a couple more questions to finish up. But right now, the mic is yours, my friend.
Okay. To start, young Nathan. I was homeschooled all of my adolescent years. Um, and then ended up going to college in those years. So growing up, I would far from classify myself as a rich family. We did not have. I was rich in the type of parents I had, but we were not
Mm.
necessarily rich financially.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we had uh, I had really good parents. I think they trained us up well. Well, y'all can be the judge of that, but I think they did I think they were great parents. Whether or not
Did
I
all right.
took anything from it, um, good parents. Not definitely not a rich background by any means. Had some financial difficulties. Ended up going to college, even though my parents were they were struggling a little bit financially as far as trying to make some ends meet. They still tried to help me get through college.
Mm.
So definitely appreciated that. Felt very bad about it because you don't want to take advantage of people, but they still tried to help me get through college. They were able to help me get through quite a few years. Um, and then learned a fair amount in college. I actually attended college for 8 years in total. Yep. Um, and let's see here. Is there anything? Nothing. Had really made a lot of really good friends. And one thing that I will say, that as far as going to PCC, if anyone is wanting to go to PCC that may be listening to this or is still at PCC, my biggest recommendation is to become an usher. I think that being an usher was the most, I'll call it, camaraderie environment to be in, because you're with a group of guys who are just they're really tight. You guys get to see each other basically every day, because I don't know if chapel is still this way, but Monday, Tuesday, and then it skipped Wednesday because of student body,
Mm-hmm.
and then Thursday, Friday, I think, and then you got Sunday morning, Sunday night. So almost every single day you guys are together, and then you go to meetings together. So it's really awesome to be an usher, because you just get to know a bunch of guys. You hang out all the time,
Mm.
and then you're texting all the time, and then at least whenever our former supervisor was there, Chuck Craig, phenomenal dude, always challenging everybody, and so making sure that you're looking out for each other, make sure you're challenging each other. Iron sharpens iron. Um,
Mm.
that was a phenomenal experience right there. Whenever I was on grounds, after you left, what was his name? Wilson. Last name was Wilson. I'm struggling to remember his first name.
I'm so bad with names. I'm
Yeah,
surprised you got
but
as many as you have so far.
yeah. The thing is, we were just talking about him at the meeting because they happen to know him as well. But Mr. Wilson was he ended up being superintendent over the grounds department, and he started challenging. So I grew up in an environment where it was like hard work, be dedicated, don't give up, work
Mm-hmm.
ethic. And then I got to PCC, and I thought, my work ethic was pretty good. And then he started challenging everybody, and I thought, man, this is some next level stuff right here. So I sometimes I get a little frustrated because you're a college student, and some days you're really just not feeling it, and you kind of want to coast a little bit. But he
Mm-hmm.
would just not let you. He would not let people coast the best that he could, and I appreciated that more in the long run. Um, so I would say, as far as the most influential people that I met at PCC would probably be Chuck Craig and Mr. Wilson. Um, yeah, those are probably the two most influential. Of course, like a lot of the faculty was influential because you're around them all the time, they're
Mm-hmm.
giving you great advice, good friends. But
Right.
I'd say as far as like work ethic and being a leader, those two were extremely influential.
Mm-hmm.
During my time at PCC, played a lot of sports. That's another reason why my grades weren't super great. Um, if it was a sport, I played it, regardless of whether or not it was like my favorite. I just love sports. So ice hockey, I mean broom hockey, sorry, is what they called it.
That was
There
so
were
much
no
fun.
skates. Oh, I know, dude. Broom hockey. I played volleyball a few times just because I was tired of not having a sport to play. I did
You have flag football too and
softball,
soccer, right?
flag football, soccer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm sure there's more that is just not here. A ping pong, racquetball. Is it racquetball? The one bounced off
Mm-hmm.
the walls? Yeah,
Yep.
racquetball.
Yep. What
Um,
collegian were you? Were you Spartans?
what's the Knights, dude?
Oh, the Knights.
Del-
That's what
Delta
I.
Chi
Right.
Delta Knights.
Zeta Chi
What time
Falcons,
is it?
baby.
Nighttime. Nighttime all the time. Dude, they were so many people were embarrassed of that saying. Years
Oh,
later down the road, I
nighttime.
would go, "What time is it?" They go, "Shut up! Don't even say it.
We're trying to get rid of that.
Nighttime.
Oh,
Stop it."
that's hilarious.
It was awesome. Anyways, I'd
Ours
still
was
do it. I'd still yell it just because it would make them get so upset. It's so embarrassing.
ours was
Anyway,
red.
yeah.
We were the Falcons and we were red, red, and we all like towards my junior year we were trying to phase it out. Same thing. Knock it off. We're not doing it. We'd end our meetings with that.
We were the worst
So
collegian.
dumb.
What were you? How was y'all? How was y'all? How were y'all?
And we were when we went there, like Matt, Caleb, and I, because we went to high school together. We wanted to join one that was bad at sports so that we could try to get a lot of playing time and do our best to bring it up. But like, so like I really only cared about the flag football team, and we played soccer too, which was kind of fun. But I wasn't really any good. But the flag football team was trash, and we brought it up to a pretty good level, which is a lot of fun. But as far as overall collegiate, I think we're towards the bottom with points every year until I think it was like a couple years, maybe 2 or 3 years after I left, they got like Collegian of the Year or something. So maybe our influence helped it to get to that point. But
There you go. Yeah.
no, it was fun. It was I love how you talked about like the camaraderie, and that was super big. Like when you're in collegians, you're in a big group of guys like that, or like I think of like um some of those meetings they do in the halls at nighttime. Like I can't remember what they call it. What do you call it when you're like y'all meet out in the halls of your
All
dorm?
meeting.
Hall meet. Yes. Thank you. Yes, hall meetings. And we'd like sing a couple songs, and it was just a cappella, just a whole hallway of guys singing. Somewhere on my phone, I have a clip of recording of guys. We are just finishing up a song, and I was like, man, like that was really cool. Like a bunch of guys coming together and singing and praising and thanking. Like that was cool. That was like the whole like the embodiment of that experience, like being there with Matt and Caleb, get to know people like yourself and John, and then playing in
A
sports and
good
going to the
kind of
beach. And
camaraderie too.
yes, 100%. Yeah, no, it was awesome. Couple questions before we continue. So you were homeschooled up through college. Did you play sports while you were homeschooled? No.
I always wanted to. I'd go outside. So I was blessed for quite a few years to live with my cousins, and we were super into football. And we
Mm-hmm.
lived like our properties butted up to each other, even though we lived in the country. They had like, I think it was 8 acres or something. We had 11 and a half. And so we had a lot of like room to play. So we would play football all the time. We played baseball all the time. And we had, so and then we had cousins who would have birthday parties, and of course, they played sports. And
Mm-hmm.
so we'd get together with them, and that was a whole lot of fun. Um, but yeah, in short, no, I always wanted to, but no sports when I was prior to college.
Interesting. Is that because you didn't, or the opportunities just weren't there, or being homeschooled you weren't able to play on different
So,
teams?
so it's a mixture of opportunity wasn't there, but the opportunity wasn't there because of, how do you put it? There were no quality opportunities. And what I mean by that is
Mm,
my parents did not want us to get involved in any groups that would be a poor influence on us.
sure.
So they wanted us to be mature. They wanted us to not take on any poor character traits, and you can see, and where I think that is beneficial to see in kind of hindsight, because I was like, Mom, I want to play baseball. I want to play baseball. I
Mm-hmm.
was always outside. Like I'd be outside like for half a day, just taking a baseball, finding a tree that's like that big around, and just trying to hit the tree with the baseball because I want to be accurate. Just like a
Uh-huh.
nerd. I didn't have anybody to throw to because my siblings were younger than I was, and then one of them he wasn't quite as interested about being outside as I was. I was a
Mm-hmm.
lot more interested about the outdoors, and so that was my only avenue to practice, was throw a ball at something.
Mm-hmm.
And but in short, where I can see the beneficial nature of that in hindsight is that if you see a lot of individuals anywhere near like whatever our generation's called. I can't remember if we're like Gen Z or whatever we are, but I don't even know those classifications. But whatever generation we are, even the people that we have in our generation, like the ability to communicate well and effectively, or even be able to talk to certain groups of individuals, or even how they communicate, is so completely different, and a lot of times far more immature, especially like in the ability to like, say if we sat down and we had a conversation that was slightly argumentative, in the fact that we're not arguing, we're presenting two contradictory ideas or
Mm-hmm.
two opposing thought processes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know that I can sit down and I can have a conversation with you and not fight you about your opinion. Now, it
Right.
does depend on the topic. However, I may be a little bit more
Passionate.
uh, passionate, depending on the
Mm-hmm.
topic. But I can sit down and have a good conversation with you, and you're not going to have me sitting there going, no, 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 and over topping you, calling you names. That's a big thing that I've noticed. But anyways, just sit there
Mm-hmm.
calling you names, saying you're wrong, trying to overtalk, and just nothing. All you can do is argue with foul language. And so to see that, where I can find the beneficial nature of that is in hindsight, and see how other opposing individuals have grown up in comparison to how we've grown up.
Sure.
Is our childhood perfect? No. Are there things that we might have missed out on? Probably, but I don't think my parents did a poor job in as the Bible says, training us up in the way we should go. When we get old, we will not depart from it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So then, when you made that transition from homeschool to maybe not being around as many groups, how did that affect you as you went to college, where now you're on your own and you're in a room with three random guys, sharing a bathroom with four other random guys, interacting with all these people? Because I honestly forgot you were homeschooled. And maybe by the time I think you were there, maybe a year or two before I was. So you had been there
12.
for a little bit. What did you say?
12.
12 years before I was.
Oh no, 2012. Sorry,
I was
my
like,
bad.
geez, I thought you said 8.
It just keeps
12
dragging up.
years.
Before the end of it, it'll be 24 years. Yeah.
I spent my whole life at college.
Yeah.
I was born
I'm
and
still
raised.
there. And I'm an undergrad.
Oh, funny.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
so you
it
had
was
been there for a little bit. So did you was there like a transition where like, holy smokes, what have I got myself into? Or did you find yourself pretty easily getting into it?
so I did not. I personally, obviously, the view of who I was from the outside in is far different than my view of inside out because I do not know exactly how people perceived me. But I will say that there more than likely was if you have been public schooled or what we'll call like Christian schooled or private school, you will notice a difference of those individuals because the level of conversation is different because a lot of times as homeschooled individuals you spend a lot more time around adult aged individuals and you don't because there is and it depends on the homeschooling system that you go through because some
Mm-hmm.
individuals they go through a homeschooling system where they have plenty of kids to hang around. I only had my cousins, and then they moved away, so then it was just us, basically, at that point, with 2 or 3 other friends. So I knew how to communicate, obviously, with other friends, but they were of similar nature. And then so I could handle adult conversation just fine, and I could talk to elderly people just fine, and communicate kind of more at that level. However, communication with other, let's just call them college age individuals who have more of this I don't know if you want to call it like a fun, it's a lot more fun, a lot more exciting, kind of goofy. um I don't know how to explain it. It's
So
a definitely a more different feeling, or more different way, a differenter, a more different way of how they express, how they talk, and everything. So it was very different for me to kind of not morph into that, but be able to understand and kind of communicate the same way. I was definitely
mm-hmm.
kind of like nerdy to them, and a lot more probably weird because I didn't necessarily understand that same way of communication. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'd have this one guy who would cup check, and it'd tick me off so much. I'm like, it's so gay. Stop it, you know.
Quit hitting me, man.
But obviously to me, at that time, I was not used to the way that let's say college age kids would express like the way that they would joke with each other and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, you start morphing into that the longer you're in and hanging around people. I don't remember. Do you remember awkward salmon that went around for a little bit at the college?
Or was it silly salmon?
We called it awkward salmon,
What's the difference?
where between the legs.
Uh-uh.
Okay, well, basically, they called it awkward salmon. Guys would run up behind each other, and they would take their hand, flap it like that, and just stick it between the legs, and blah, 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 just yell awkward salmon. Yeah. So yeah, so that was really weird to me at first, and I was just like, well, I guess this is how everybody goofs around now, and so
So you go back home. Hey, Dad, look
eventually,
what I learned at college.
hey, Dad, you'd be so proud. But yeah, so learning how people communicated and joked around and the behavior, I guess, I was able to kind of, I'll say, catch on to be more normal at college. Um, it took about 2 years, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I could see how it would be. Because I was homeschooled through seventh grade, and then so when I went to Lake Region, local Christian school here, it was kind of similar. I didn't really know what the how to take notes properly in class or like how to I wasn't as socially like outgoing as I am now per se, because it's just like okay, I was just my brothers. I grew up with my brothers and my cousins and stuff. It's kind of similar situation. So I can see how it would take just a moment to kind of adapt to find yourself and find your confidence within yourself because you don't really have, all you have is one second, shush. All you have is like these your parents and your brothers to kind of give their feedback and their opinion of you. You don't have like your friends or other people to bounce that back on you like okay yeah you're kind of
Yeah.
being weird or yeah no that's not normal like and then you
Yeah.
start to be around these other people and you're like oh okay yeah okay I should act this way or I can act this way. It's interesting.
Not used to ending up with a pothead as a roommate that you open up the door one time and he's standing there changing a light bulb butt naked. Yeah. I walked in on that and I just went, whoa! I just closed the door. I was like, I'm good. I'm gonna come back later. Walk in,
Oh
Mark,
man.
what were you doing? He would just do that all the time. He'd just walk out and I just opened. If I opened it and I just heard the shower, I just assumed I'm good. I'll just come
Yeah,
back
I'll
another
wait.
time.
I'll stand on your
Yeah.
sweaty. uh, quick question now. Music. You obviously I've heard you
Okay.
sing. You got a wonderful voice. You're very musically talented. Was that something that you were involved in when you were in homeschool? Did you do a lot of stuff in church with that, or where did that start up?
So growing up, I'd always, I'd always like sung with my cousins,
Mm-hmm.
um, and then just I kept singing more and more and more within the church. And my family, my mom had, we were always basically, we were just about singing every day. We were singing all the time, and then just singing to music, and then it just we were just singing all the time. And actually was far more intrigued in piano than I was in voice. And my um, we went and moved to Freedom's, and then I was like, Dad, I want to learn how to play piano. And so then he started trying to teach us how to play piano. He was so busy. He basically worked two jobs every time, all the time that I had known Dad until I moved out of college. He basically was working two jobs,
Mm.
and so if he didn't have time to maintain lessons, so I ended up trying to continue them myself and just try to self teach, which wasn't super great, but I at least learned how to play some music, a fair amount of music by ear. Um, but in the last year, so my dad he attended Bob Jones as piano performance. And then um, he also, if I remember correctly, he did voice competitions, I think in high school, if I remember correctly. So in the last few years before I ended up going off to college, I started really getting interested in trying to sing a little bit more as kind of like in more of a professional capacity,
Mm-hmm.
which is why I ended up, when I went to college, ended up taking on the vocal proficiency. And so throughout college, I ended up taking courses in conducting, piano. They're more introductory courses than anything. I completed the Jaffe Strings program where I learned to play cello, which I'm better at cello than I am at piano now. So I took a piano, cello, voice. Had to learn how to teach some other instruments that I would never want to teach or bother with. Conducting, I honestly, whenever I was getting into the conducting courses, I thought I'm about to change my major. This is amazing. I love
Mm.
it. But I didn't end up changing it because I was very staunch. Like, I will finish this degree no matter how long it takes me, even if it's 24 years. I will have my degree. uh, but I will say one trait that I think my dad had passed on from growing up and seeing is just like the commitment level to completing things.
Mm-hmm.
So I never ever wanted to be like, oh, that guy, he gives up, you know. So anytime I tried to do something, I always wanted to make sure I saw it all the way through. And even at a personal level, I never wanted to be like I was asking, hey, why don't you just change your major to something a little bit easier, something that doesn't require as many credits, something that doesn't have as many courses. And I just told him, because then it's like he gave up. I'm taking something so I can graduate with a degree. Yes, it's similar, but I gave up on this. And so because of the giving up aspect, I was determined I was going to graduate with this degree no matter how long it took.
Hmm.
So that's one thing that I think my dad had passed along that was a great attribute to learn as a child.
Yeah, because you can apply that to a lot of different things in life. That's awesome. So moving forward, you make it through college, and now we're to where you are now, working in your business. You're doing some music kind of on the side with church and other stuff like that. Talk about now. I got some of the things in your cabinet back there. You have a channel. You have a YouTube channel. Can you kind of just discuss that and where that came from? Maybe growing up, you kind of dabbled in it and just has been a passion of yours until now. You're able to make it what it is now.
Yep. So where guns come from is my grandpa. So
Hmm.
my grandpa was a lumberjack and he loved guns as well. So the two things he passed on to me from that is the love for the axe, which is I love using an axe, and firearms. So he would take us out into we just called it back in the woods is what we'd always refer it to. They had 100 acres back in the woods where we would go back there and we would shoot. We'd shoot clays, we would shoot coffee cans, anything. But before we shot, the biggest things that we learned was gun safety over and over and over again. And then when somebody would go against a gun safety rule or even come close to it, Grandpa would go, ah! And it would scare us to death hearing that because we were like, wait, who just did what? And there was one time I was shooting a little. If anybody knows what a 22 cricket is, I was shooting a little 22 cricket, and I had just clicked it off safety, and my cousin went to walk past to go fix the paper plate we were shooting at, and of course Grandpa and talking about being in front of the muzzle of the gun, and so gun safety was a huge deal to us, even with the BB gun. So if somebody pointed, like we had another cousin when we lived in Myersdale, Pennsylvania. He went and pointed a BB gun at me, and I just dropped to the ground like this. I was like, "What are you doing?" It's like it's a BB gun, and I'm like, yeah, "Still, yeah."
Right.
But obviously, I believe that there's, depending on level of I won't get into this, okay? Because only if you understand the level of proficiency I'm discussing will you understand what I mean. But I believe that gun safety, to the extent of as far as being in front of a muzzle, is dependent upon you, the career you take with a firearm. Like if we start discussing CQB and we start discussing varying aspects of that, being in front of a muzzle is going to be a natural part of
Hmm.
CQB. But then anyways, I'm not going to get into that. But so that grandpa, that is where my love for firearms came along. I was 16 years old. My parents said, "We're going to get you a gun for your birthday." And so I had a really good friend of mine. We called him Uncle Rick, but he was not an uncle. He was just a friend. So Uncle Rick
Was his
went
name
in.
Rick?
Yeah, his name was Rick.
Okay.
That was Bobby. No. So actually, and I'll show it to you. So he went in and he ended up picking out, this is be the best gun for you. It ended up being a shotgun, Mossberg 535. So this is
Hmm.
the shotgun, and I forever ended up using that for I would go crow hunting. I went what was that bird called up in PA? I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head right now. There's another bird we hunted.
I was hoping you
And
were like, is
grouse.
that the
Sorry, there it
eagle?
was.
Oh,
Grouse.
grouse. Okay.
Yeah. Eagle, yeah. Got a lot of eagle. Great breakfast. So grouse, crow, and then I went slugs. Went with slugs, and we went deer hunt, and didn't get anything with
Mm.
it. Went to college, and the whole time I was in college, I wanted to buy another gun. I was like, I need a gun, and then I got out of college. I'm buying a gun now, so I ended up getting a Glock 17, which I ended up selling because I wanted another gun. So don't ask me about whether or not I believe in selling firearms. It was a sad day. I might get it back one day. But anyways,
There you go.
so I got out of college, and um, I'll abbreviate it a little bit. Ended up working for a landscape company's contractor sales. Started considering doing a channel. Then, kind of towards the end of that, if I remember correctly, kind of towards the end of that, into when I had a individual a business owner who started his company while I was at that landscape company. It was it was a provisional company, so they provided materials.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I kind of mentored him a little bit in some of the. He already knew how to install the product. I knew how to sell the product. So I kind of mentored him a little bit as he was growing his company. He goes, "Hey, I want you to come on board, help me grow my company." Because I was familiar with sod, artificial turf, and other aspects that he wasn't familiar with. But anyways, so I come on board there, so become a partner with that company, and at that time I opened up LOC Tactical to do a YouTube channel. We do firearms training, however, I do not advertise it, and I've had very few clients. The kind of, I would say, firearms training that I do is among friends. So I'll go to the range with a friend, and he goes, "Well, what do you think about my grip, or what do you think about how I shoot, or why
Mm.
do you think I'm inaccurate, or any questions like that." I answer a lot of those questions, help them shoot better, help trigger pull, different kind of considerations, grip considerations, stuff like that. Um, just because my main company, which is the landscape design install, takes up so much of my time. Any of my budget that I spend all goes to that.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, I have LOC Tactical, and I do a lot of videos there, which have been getting a lot more limited lately because of how busy I've been.
Mm.
But I do a lot of firearm videos pertaining a lot more towards the concealed carry side of things, because I'm shifted over towards the right. Um, so more towards the concealed carry side of things, because that is a very big passion for me. I think this might be a little controversial. I am a huge Second Amendment advocate. Okay, please understand that 1000%. Do I think that everybody has the right to carry? 1000%. Do I think
Mm-hmm.
that everybody who has the right to carry should carry at the exact moment that they can carry? No, because an individual who is not trained with their firearm can be far more dangerous. Um, I want everybody to be able to. I want everybody to conceal carry. I think everybody should conceal carry. I think everyone should conceal carry with the caveat that they have training.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think training should be a requirement, but I think that it should be a moral consideration for anyone who conceal carries to train.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say training, I'm not referring to, yes, I visit the range once a month. And I get it that
Right.
some people can only go to the range once a month. I get that. But there's way more types, far more avenues of practice than just physically going to the range. Dry fire practice is going to be the most advantageous way to train without going to the range. Dry fire practice is going to there are a lot of things that you can train in dry fire practice, where when you go to the range, it just confirms what you've been practicing. One thing you cannot practice at the home is recoil control. I get that. But recoil control and practicing double taps, which that's an old term, but practicing controlled pairs, practicing strings of fire, practicing all those different kinds of things, moving and shooting. You can't practice that at home. But um, wait a second. I showed my gun earlier. On YouTube Live, you cannot show guns.
Uh, Is YouTube Live different than just YouTube?
No, if you're uploading it like after the fact, you're
Mm-hmm.
fine.
Yeah, we'll
Okay,
be
okay,
good.
sounds good.
Okay.
Well, here, let me show you. So,
Dang it! Your whole stream's gonna be cut out.
yeah. So one of the biggest things that I practice, I'm gonna bring a gun right here. So this is my Zev OZ9C, one of my favorite guns. Okay,
Shabuzi?
one of the most important things to practice whenever you're concealed carrying is going to be getting this out of your waistband
Mm-hmm.
smoothly and efficiently. I think I think that anyone that carries should be able to get their pistol out and fully presented within a second and a quarter. I think everyone should be able to do that because they're going to need to be able to do that. I
Mm-hmm.
can. This is not a. This is just as an example. This is not a. Oh, kudos to Nathan. I can draw a pistol and fire it on target in under a second. I think my fastest is 0.87 seconds. I think is my fastest, but that's going off of memory. Um, and if you want to know for sure if I can, I put out a video on it, but oh well. So the most important things that you can practice is going to be, for accuracy's sake, I just cleared it, is going to be trigger press. That's something that you can practice at home, drawing the pistol, and presentation. Those are going to be the most important aspects, because once you get out into the range, you can take all that stuff that you practiced, because the presentation of your firearm, drawing it, and pulling the trigger are going to be the most important parts to just your first shot.
Mm.
So you can spend like all this time. You can spend like I do I don't know. I would probably say approximately 10 to 15 minutes every day throughout the day. I'm always drawing a pistol. When I go put it on to leave, I'm probably sitting there. My wife makes fun of me. I'll be sitting there, oh, oh, you know, and
As she's cooking dinner, looking over at you.
yeah, she'll just go, she'll be, yeah, just sitting there. Her phrase is, "You got him, baby." But anyways, so but the thing is even though like sometimes I can't get out to the range more than once every 2 months, because either I'm like got super sick because I have ulcerative colitis. Either I'm just super sick and I cannot get out there and I have to rest, or work is just so busy that I can't get out there. The training that I can be doing in my house that I do every day, regardless if I can make it out to the range, takes up so much of what can be practiced, so that when I go to the range, the only thing I have to worry about is recoil control.
Mm.
That's all I have to worry about then at the range. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, dynamic shooting is going to be like, if you have all of what I'll call the foundational elements, if you have all of your foundations, the core aspects of shooting a pistol, which in my personal opinion is going to be grip, trigger press, and grip and trigger press, those are really kind of like the main core things. If you can get those things down, you
Like getting it
have,
out
yeah, well, getting
or
that out
holstering.
that's unholstering. That's going to be more of like the use scenario of it. I'm talking
Sure.
about just like being able to properly manipulate the firearm so that it
Gotcha.
shoots effectively.
Gotcha.
In general, as it pertains to the pistol, to shoot it proficiently, getting down, like making sure you have a good master grip and a good trigger pull is going to take care of a lot. Obviously, you got the
Mm.
locking of the wrists, you have a bunch of other things, your stance. Um, I don't know how you are, but the whole,
Yeah.
like you're diving into the water, it's like, you might want to, but if it works, it works. I'm not going to change that, but
Uh,
um, so yes, so people may get really offended, like, "Oh, I can't believe he said that I need to practice and that I shouldn't carry a gun." It's not that I don't think that people shouldn't carry a gun. I 100%. I'm not a Democrat. No,
right.
yeah, I'm just kidding.
No,
I
you're
am.
not.
Believe me. The thing is, the only reason why I say that is I will have people say, you know, I got my gun, so we're good. And I'm thinking, I saw you at the range.
Mm-hmm.
I know what you can do, and it's not a lot. I had one
Right.
guy, he goes, he says, I can't conceal carry everywhere I go. But then in preceding statements, he'll heavily admit that he may not even be able to hit the target. It's like, yeah, so that's where I'm coming from. Like,
Mm-hmm.
do you have to be I'll just say Delta Force. Do you have to be Delta Force to conceal carry? Absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to at least be somewhat proficient.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And with you, you're in law enforcement, correct? Still?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Not on the road anymore. I work in the jail now full time as a correctional officer. Have for the past 3 years, but yeah, I was a
Okay,
police officer
so
and deputy for 3 years before that. So
you're not in law enforcement anymore.
not
No,
in
I'm
that
just kidding. I'm
capacity,
just
no.
I'm just messing. So you're a janitor.
No.
No.
No, daycare, adult daycare is what I do.
I too am
Uh,
effeminate some days. No. I'm just messing.
but no, I
Um,
I agree, and I like how you said like you think there should be training, not necessarily mandatory, but taking it seriously because you think
yes.
about like you driving a car requires a license, and then it takes practice. You got to practice driving a car in
Yeah.
order to get good at it,
Yeah.
especially when you start out.
Yeah, and regardless, and my point is this: regardless, like as we're talking about a car, where the car and the pistol don't correlate is that I don't believe there should be a license required.
Mm,
However, if someone is going to go drive on the road, do you think that they're like, especially during the years of manual transmission, do you think that they're going to go and practice before they go drive on the road? Yeah, I do. I
mm-hmm.
think a lot of people will practice before they get out there. Like, oh, hey, I need to know how to turn a steering wheel efficiently. And I think
Okay.
a lot of people don't really think about that. But there was a guy named Florian at PCC, and he's a great guy. He's a great guy, but he didn't know how to drive. And he was from France, and he had not driven anything at all. No reason to. He joins the grounds crew, so I now have to train him on the golf cart. Well, I thought that training on a golf cart was kind of like a no-brainer. Well, we couldn't get out of the golf cart bay. And I have this habit, which it was against the rule book. I would kind of dangle my leg out off the side of the golf cart. I know it was against the rules, but I had to whip that thing in real fast because we missed the yellow concrete posts at the entrance. I
Uh-huh.
missed it by that much. I was like, whoa, and we just barely made it out. Yeah. So I went and told him. I said, "Okay, we barely made it to the stop sign, barely." And I was like, "All right, let's take a left turn because I wanted to see how he could handle it." So we're headed towards what's that road? Rawson Lane. We're headed towards Rawson Lane from grounds, and we were doing, and I said, all right, I think this is the end. Let's turn around. Let's go take a look at some other things. And so I
Also,
actually
what's in your
ended up
water jug
jumping
there,
into the
pal?
driver's seat. Yep. I jumped in the driver's seat. We drove around the back. We went to go into the engine bay, and I told him, all right, I wanted to give him a little chance to be able to, reprove himself. So before we made it in, back into the golf cart bay, I let him swap back over, and we made it in extremely fast and then braked extremely fast. And then we went to park. We drove straight into the lockers, completely bypassed the parking space. And I thought, oh my
uh,
goodness, he was the first guy I ever failed. It was
Sad.
bad. It was horrible.
Poor
But
guy.
sorry, I got way off topic. But the whole point of that is yes, I don't. I think everybody has the right to carry. I do not think that there should be any law requiring you like. And the reason why I say there should be no law is because the government takes a law that goes into place and uses it to fit their agenda, not your agenda. So, like, I'm sure we would all agree that we think there should be some requirement for you to be um, let's say, proficient with a gun if you're going to take it out into public with you.
Mm-hmm.
However, the fear of the government being tyrannical, which is the reason why I don't think we should have that, is because they could use it to their advantage to get rid of your gun or keep you from carrying or even you use it out in public. So that's why
Sure.
I do not believe that there should be any requirements there. That's why I use the term moral requirement. I believe that it is a moral responsibility for you to train with your gun to a proficient level if you're going to carry it.
Mm.
So because there's not going to be, you could end up getting shot and killed after you shoot other people and kill them. So you could kill all the bystanders and not even hit your target, and then he
Right.
shoots you.
Right.
So, like, people who don't train, they don't know how to think, like, oh, if I shoot this direction, what could be my target and beyond,
Mm-hmm.
And people who slap trigger slappers, pew, 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 pew. You're all over the place. There's a guy, Achilles Heel Tactical. Forget his name. I know Rick Crawley is the owner of Achilles Heel Tactical, but there's an individual that teaches, and he talks about trigger slap, and he says he doesn't believe that that's a problem. But I think it is more that he is he has all the fundamentals down to be able to continue with trigger slap,
Mm-hmm.
because even myself, as much as I shoot and train and practice, I don't know how he can trigger slap and shoot, a hole that big
Right.
on target. Yeah,
That's
it's
crazy.
it's crazy. But he also shoots like I think he shoots USPSA matches, a lot of competitive matches, but I digress. So,
Right.
anyways, that's my little spiel. If you're going to carry, absolutely, it is your moral requirement that you should go out and train. Because I think that I don't know your opinion on this. I do not think that there are a lot. I do not think that all police personnel are as good as they probably should be.
I agree 100%. And
Okay.
I like how you said that moral requirement, because when you are going to carry, I think a lot of people need to understand why. Like, what's the purpose behind it? You have like these young kids that think they're thugs, and they get their permit to carry, so they're gonna wear it and be like, hey, check it out, I'm carrying a gun. Hey, I'm hot stuff. But I think you really got to think about is the why. Like, why am I carrying this? And I had
Exactly.
a I had this debate with a coworker not that long ago, and he kind of, I mean, it's a couple months ago, but either way, he's like, well, why? He's like, I don't think we should. I think we should get rid of them. Whatever. And I was like, well, I carry, and I pray to God that I never have to use it. Like, I never want to have to ever take it out. But God forbid I'm in a situation, I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Especially
Yep.
when I think about my family. I have a 7-month-old boy now, and if something comes in the way of that, of his life, my wife's life, my friends, my family, people around me, and I kind of talked about this with my buddy in the episode that's going to come out this Tuesday. We kind of talk about being fathers and protecting. And I think it is our duty to stand up for the weak, and especially when it comes to our family, our duty to protect. Be that force of nature that's going to just ruin your day if you try to mess with it. And we talked about, like, you think of like a elephant, like a mother elephant, or that mama bear. Elephant is like a very gentle creature. You see it in the wild with its young, and it's just a very gentle creature. But when you get in between it, it's going to rip your face off, kind of thing. And that's something that I think of. If people get in between the safety or the lives of my friends, my family, my boy, my wife, like, it is my duty, and I'd be doing a disservice to them if I had this capability of protecting them and I didn't train with it. I
Yeah.
think it's important that we are our best when our best is required, and we don't know when that's going to be required of us. We look at
Yeah.
the stuff that's going on in the news today with Charlie Kirk, with the shootings in these schools, these churches. Like, any given Sunday, that could be our church, that could be our school, that could be our event that
Our
we're
friend.
at, our friend. It could be our friend, and I think it's our duty, and it would be doing a disservice to them to not train and be ready to be our best when it is required. So it is really cool to see the content that you're putting out, and the stuff that you're training on, and practicing and helping others to try to get to that level as well. Because there's a lot of evil in this world, and we can't stop those evil from doing evil things ahead of time, but we can stop it as it's happening. I think the only thing that can stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. And
Yeah.
if you're in that
And
situation and haven't trained, you're going to do more damage than good, like you said.
yep. And I will add one little caveat to that, is a lot of people, something that I notice when people comment on the channel, is that a lot of a mental approach to what they carry and how they carry is always only based off the situation that it occurs off of what they understand. So is the situation you're going to be faced with, whether it's home defense or personal defense out in town or whatever, is it always only going to be one person that's going to be attacking you?
Mm.
Is it going to be two? Is it going to be three? Is it going to be a gang? Are you going to have five? Is it going to be a drive-by situation? Could they pull up in a van, everybody comes out and tries to come after you and throw you in the van? Like there was one situation, I can't remember how long ago that was, watched this video. I don't know what they were trying to do, but it kind of looked like they were trying to get this guy into the van, and he was able to solve that situation. But the point is why are they coming after you? You always think it's going to be, are they coming just to take your wallet? Are they coming because they want your car? Is it because of a possession? I think a lot of people think that it's always going to be because of a possession, a personal possession of yours, just because that seems to be the main thing. But why are they coming after you? Why are they coming into your house? Will every, I'll call home protection, home invasion, will every home invasion occur? And this is why I bring that up, because a lot of people go, yeah, I use a shotgun and ARs are stupid. Or I use this because ARs are stupid. Or I use an AR because shotguns are stupid. Well, what is the situation? And like, for instance, one of the things that, like, I use an AR for self-defense. And some of the things to consider are individuals have raided homes in body armor. So how
Mm.
do you know whether or not somebody's going to come into your home with body armor? And how do you know whether or not multiple people are going to come into your home with body armor? And are you going to always have to defend your home from inside your home? Or will you be outside when people are approaching your property and trying to come on your property? How far away will these individuals be? So depending on your region, are you in the mountains? Are you on plains? Are you in urban areas? So like, your approach has to be predicated upon the situation. And so, but if you're not going to train, use what you've most trained with,
Mm.
is what I would say. But just consider that there's more to self-defense and home defense than just one guy coming for one thing: your wallet,
Mm-hmm.
your keys, your car, your whatever.
Right. Could be
So
a couple. Yeah, I like it. Well, cool, dude. We're almost we're getting to the end of the show, so I got one more question for you, and it's something to ask all my guests. In a world today, where you're doing multiple different things. You're involved in your church. You're doing LLC Tactical. You're doing your business. You're a dad. You're a husband. You got all these things going on, and you're constantly pouring out yourself into all these things into other people. What do you do to fill your cup up so that you can continue to do that? What do you do to stay sharp?
so I would say probably the biggest aspect for me is going to be the defensive aspect. So like for personal defense, physical defense, I would say the training the firearms world. So just constantly being fresh with my abilities, making sure that I know how to the foundations, and um, I can really control the pistol well, know that I can get a hold of it quickly and be able to defend my home. I'm often practicing what a CQB flow in the house as one man, coming from one side to the other. How would I approach it? Go one room to
Mm-hmm.
the other. My wife makes fun of me, but anyway. So that's, I would say, from that defensive side, from self-defense, self-preservation for family. That's how I stay kind of um, uh, sharpened in that regard. But then also the defense, the spiritual defense, which
Mm.
is. Um, on Thursday mornings. I wasn't able to go this week because how busy the week was. But usually every Thursday morning, me and a bunch of guys, we meet at a cafe at 6 a.m. and we do a Bible study. And we are working through some different kinds of books. The book right now we're working through is Mortification of Sin, or The Putting to Death of Sin. We just wrapped up Systematic Theology, just a few weeks, just a few weeks ago, 3 or 4 weeks ago, which was very beneficial. But that the camaraderie there, which seeing how all the other guys try to help in their familial perspective, their families' lives, trying to seeing how everybody tries to make sure that the spiritual side of their family is also met, as well as the physical, because we in a world so dominated by the physical aspect of life, the providing for the family, the financial need, providing food for the family, so making sure that our children and our wives' bellies are filled, putting a roof over our family's head, that becomes such a dominant aspect in our lives that I think we also can tend to forget about the spiritual thing. I am not perfect. Can I remember to do it every day? No. Do things get crazy busy? Yes. However, I try to make sure that, and if I've gone a few days without remembering to do so, I'll be like, hey, Susanna, make sure I do not forget to do this tonight. But what we'll do is, what we're doing right now is at dinner, I'll sit down and I'll read this book called Experiencing God Day by Day, the devotional and journal. So basically, it goes through. It's just a very quick. I would say it's on average about 3 paragraphs, so very quick. It covers like kind of think of a verse of a day, covers the aspect of
Mm-hmm.
it, things to consider, and a challenge. And then, so we go through that, and then we also read through an aspect of, I'm going back through the systematic theology book with Susanna, just to kind of help with the deepening the understanding and systematization of our faith. Because I think that a lot of Christians today have a very shallow understanding of what they believe. And I think that they tend to pick up their faith and they pick up their beliefs upon what everybody else says. And what the most current view on a situation is like, and I'll be just very frank, God loves everybody LGBTQ. Okay, just going to be very frank with that. The biblical position on that is very clear. And so just because you hear a Christian say something does not mean that it is true. Just kind of like think in the firearms world, think in something like, well, even in the policing world. If let's take a particular, you're coming out to enforce the law. You've got your buddy right beside you, and he goes, "Yeah, we got to arrest you because you picked your booger on the left side. You can't do that. It's against the law. All right, let's go." Obviously that's way out there, but the whole thing is you be sitting there going, "Is that a thing?" But in a world, which obviously no one would think this, but in a world where people go and they just take on, I'm going to call policing your belief system. You're taking on this belief system, and then you hear him say that, and then there's 3 other guys beside him going, "Oh, that seems legit," and then you go, "Yeah, that's legit. All right, let's go. Get him in there. Get him in the cruiser." So that's how I think that a lot of people pick up Christianity, is because
Mm.
they do not study it for themselves. They do not spend time in the Word, which is where all of the belief system comes from. So I would say those are the 2 ways that I attempt to try to stay sharpened. Do we do it every single day? Do we try to do it? Yes, but do we do it every single day? Not all the time.
Mm.
I'll even admit, this past week and a half has been so extremely busy, and to have any downtime at all, like Susanna last night, I went to have a little downtime. I got home, and me and my brothers, we play Rainbow Six Siege with each other
Mm-hmm.
to catch up, because they're in South Carolina. And so how we catch up, we jump on, we'll play some Rainbow Six Siege. We usually play about 2 rounds, and we play ranked, so you got to stay in the match. So it took 2 hours for us to get through 2 matches, because every match went into overtime. Well, I went to jump off that, and I started to jump on and start writing my little. You told me what you wanted. You were like, go over your life story, and I was like, all right,
Oh.
I'm just going to start preparing this. And Susanna comes in, and she goes, "Hey Nathan, I'd like to spend a little time with you." I thought, oh yeah, I probably should do that. So it was literally like, Do you have time? Can you have time to get everything done in the day? I mean, yes, but you will not. There's always a sacrifice. So like you would have
Mm-hmm.
to sacrifice like no downtime. You'd have to sacrifice no time with family to get absolutely everything done. So there, when it was extremely busy, I think in the past week and a half, we might have done the day by day devotional and the theology like 3 times so far in the week and a half at dinner just because of how busy it's been. So do we are we able to in the stress of life able to get everything done all the time? And no, it gets a little difficult.
That's
But
human.
it is our goal as husbands, as fathers, to try our best to make sure that we are providing not only the physical aspect, which it can easily be caught up in, but the spiritual aspect things too. So
Amen. I like it, dude. Well, this has been an awesome episode. It's been fun catching up with you for sure. And Nathan Ivy, man, I just want to thank you again so much for taking the time to come on. It was awesome talking to you and hearing your
thanks for
story
having me.
and your opinion on things. And yeah, we'll have to do it again sometime or get you up in to Minnesota, do a little
You
hangout, get our
said
families together.
opinion. I thought it was fact.
Yeah, whatever.
I'm just kidding. I'm just messing. You're gonna argue this?
Well, what are you talking about? I'm getting mad. I'm leaving.
Ready for argument?
All right.
I told you I can discuss things easily. I'm not a thinker.
Oh man. All right,
But yeah,
ladies and
this
gentlemen.
was fun. Thanks for having me on.